Okay, adding guidelines for your word balloons. So I've created a word balloon, and there's two different ways that you can create guidelines. Now, if you're lucky enough to have one of these, this is from Creative Memories that I no longer do, and this kind of has some lines here that will help guide me. I can place this where I want it to be on my balloon, making sure that it is kind of not, my lines aren't going like this, so my words are kind of diagonal, but my words look like they're flat. I could go in here and I could just use this to create my lines so that I could then do my writing on these lines. However, for me, I think that this might be too much spacing. I guess it depends on how many words you need to actually go into this area. But I think that this might be a little big. And also, if you didn't have as many words, you might have a smaller balloon. So that's if you have something like that. The one that I would suggest even further, honestly, would just be to use the plain old handy dandy ruler. So you might take your ruler, and I would line the edge of my ruler up with the edge of my paper over here, making sure that I have a straight line. And I might come down and I might decide, okay, so this might be my first line. Then I might come down, how much space do I actually need for my writing? It doesn't need to be necessarily too terribly large. You want to try and keep your the spacing consistent so that your spacing here is not too much larger or smaller than here. So a lot of this stuff you're doing by hand, so it's kind of guesswork and just kind of eyeballing it a little bit. So now that you have your lines, you can, I don't even know if I'm going to need another one here, but I'll put it here. So then now that you have your lines in your word balloon, you can then go in and you can, this is how you create lines for your balloon text. And actually, if I'm really doing this properly, that would not be a capital B, and this would be a lowercase l. I have a tendency to kind of combine my uppercase and lowercase together when I write. So that just gives you an example. Once you have this done and you're on to the stage of using your fine tip permanent marker, your ultrafine permanent marker, you would be tracing all of the words in here. And then once that permanent marker is done, then you would be going back with your eraser and you'd be erasing those pencil guidelines so that you have nice, clean writing within your comic. So that's how you're going to use the ruler to help you create guidelines for your word bubbles, or even if you have any captions that you've added to your comic as well. Okay, there you go.